Welcome to the Shorewood Senior Campus concert by the Rochester Caledonian Pipeband. We are so happy that you invited us to perform for you. Last year we performed in your parking lot, and this year, due to an abundance of caution, we are performing live, but to be recorded, in Cook Park on 7th Street. So again, we thank you for the chance to perform for you, and we hope you enjoy it.
Ready? Fly center. Quick. Fire.
The next two tunes are Green Hills of Tyrol and Balmoral. The Green Hills of Tyrol was actually lifted from Rossini's William Tell overture, and later words were put to it, and those words now relate to a soldier, a Scottish soldier, in the Green Hills of Tyrol in Europe fighting, and those hills reminded him of his green highlands back home in Scotland. So that's the first tune. Then the second tune is Balmoral. And Balmoral has a couple meanings. It is a Scottish beret, a hat, and it's also the name of the castle that the royal family stays at when they're in Scotland. So Green Hills of Tyrol and Balmoral.
Band. Ready? Fly center. Quick. Fire.
going to do some introductions now. And I didn't tell the band this, but they're going to have to introduce themselves. So get ready and try to remember your name. The band has a history here. In fact, it's over 50 years old in this community. It started as the Manorville Grenadiers back in the 70s, and we actually have some of the charter members still playing with us, although they are not here tonight out of an abundance of caution. But they are still active members. We have a wide variety of ages. I think our youngest is around 16 and the oldest is 81. If you added up all the experience of all the drummers and the pipers all together, it'd be over 400 years. So I'd like right now to have each of them shout out their name and how many years they've been playing their instrument. I don't know if you heard me, but you have to shout out your name and how many years you've been playing your instrument. And we'll start on the left with Bob.
Bob Schmidt, Sabrota, 12 years. I'm Ewan Ferguson, I live in Stewartville. I've been playing for 45 years.
I've been playing for 6 years.
Jeff Urke, 6 years. Steve Franks, about 20 years. About 8 years. Joshua Pointe, 23 years.
Bethany Schmidt, 18 years.
Ted Schmidt, 8 years. Trevor Schwartz, 2 years.
Grace Walter, 5 years.
Thank you. As you can see, we have a big variety, and we have a mix. We have people from all walks of life, and both genders are here too, which we applaud. The next two tunes are called Rowan Tree and Farewell to Camera. Now, Rowan Tree in Scotland is a little bit like our mountain ash is here, but the real significance of a rowan tree is that the legend has it that it was a magical kind of tree and it protected people from evil spirits. So it was a good thing to have a rowan tree on your property, and it was bad luck if you cut it down. Now the second tune, Farewell to Camera, you would think would be a sad tune, but it's actually a joke in the title. The band, a very popular band, decided to change their chanter reeds, and they went from the War Mac to another one. So they wrote a tune, a farewell to their chanter reeds, but they called it, instead of War Mac, they reversed the spelling to Camera. So we have Farewell to Camera.
Right, ready? High center. Quick, fire.
To introduce a gentleman out of the band. His name is Ewan Ferguson, and he has played a vital role in the development of this band. He came in the year 2000 and started off right away as our pipe major and made significant changes and improvements in our band. And in fact, by the years 2009, 10, and 11, we were the first place grade 5 band in the Minnesota Games due to his leadership. So who better to talk about how the pipes work than our former pipe major, Ewan Ferguson.
I'm going to explain a little bit about the Great Highland bagpipes, how they work, and basically what they're made from. The Great Highland bagpipe, which is what you see here, is probably the best known in the world. It was used by the British Empire to conquer countries, you know, with the army. The origin of the bagpipe is probably, though, in the Middle East somewhere. Every country in the world has a version of bagpipes. The Eastern European countries and even Scandinavia have their own version, but what you're used to seeing and hearing are the Great Highland bagpipes, which was sort of perfected in Scotland and parts of Ireland as well. There's basically 4 different parts to the pipe. The bag itself, this is a decorative cover. The bag is underneath, it's just a leather cowhide in North America. In Scotland they use sheepskin because they have a lot of sheep there, probably more sheep than people. The chanter, which is this part here, and it has note holes. There's 9 notes, that's where you play the melody, the tunes, and then these pipes that are sticking up out of the top of the bagpipe, these are drones. That's that humming noise you hear. And the bass drone, the longer one, it harmonizes with the low notes on the chanter, 2 octaves below, and then the tenor drones, these 2, they harmonize the same 1 octave below the pitch of the chanter. And then this part right here is the blowpipe, and at the bottom of the blowpipe is a one-way valve, a little flapper that allows you to blow air in, and then the pressure of the air in the bag closes it off so that you don't lose any air except from the reeds. So you have 4 reeds altogether. You have your chanter reed, which is a double cane, and it looks like this. It's just a tiny little reed, double blade like a lot of woodwind instruments, and without being in the chanter it just sounds like this. So when it's in the chanter, it's amplified. The drone reeds, they were bamboo cane. Now most of them are synthetics. And I do have an example of one of those right here. And it's kind of like a tube with a little tongue on it that vibrates. Sounds like we're calling in some ducks. But once you stick that into the drones, it sounds a lot louder. You tune the drones by moving these top parts up or down. They call these slides for obvious reasons. They just slide up or down to sharpen or flatten it to harmonize again with the chanter. Good bagpipes are made of African blackwood or ebony. These ones, I just had these made last year. These are a type of Mexican ebony. They had to stain it a little darker to kind of match the traditional color of the bagpipes. The ornamentation that you see on it really has no effect on the sound. This is stainless steel or aluminum. It used to be sterling silver or nickel. These, the projecting mounts, are imitation ivory. They used to be real ivory when it was legal. Now you might get moose antler or deer antler or kind of buffalo horn, or just the imitation plastic. These are the ferrules and these are the slides, and at the top where the drone flares out is called the bell. There's ring caps, and those on this pipe are engraved, and that's what makes the difference in the cost of the bagpipes. A lot of times the first question we get is, how much does a set of bagpipes cost? A good set costs maybe $1,500. And then if you get real silver and you can get like mammoth ivory, the price can go up over $12,000. But when you're learning how to play, you don't have to spend that kind of money, because unlike a lot of musical instruments, bagpipes have a miniature version. It's called a practice chanter, and it's basically a smaller version of this, and a smaller version of the blowpipe just attached right onto it, kind of like a recorder. And so you learn how to play on that before you get onto the full bagpipe.
So it's my pleasure to introduce another member of the band. His name is Steve Franks, and he is a longtime member of the band, and he is also our band manager, which is not an easy task. We have some 25 people in the band, and he has to try to corral them and get them lined up for an event. And he is our public face in talking to all of the event managers. And we do a variety of things throughout the year, parades and community service types of things. So he is a very busy guy. I've asked him to talk about our uniform, and that's really apropos for him because he spent his whole career in a uniform. He is a member of the Rochester Police Department. So with that, here is Steve Franks.
Thank you. So I'll talk a little bit about the uniform. I'll hopefully answer more questions than I generate. I'll start from the bottom and work my way up. So our shoes are more than just shoes. They're actually called ghillie brogues, which translated means boys' shoes. They're unique in that they don't have a tongue. They just have very long laces. They're twisted in the front, wrapped around the back of the lower leg, and then tied in the front. Moving up from there, we have just kilt hose. We've been wearing blue kilt hose for quite a while. It kind of depends on what look the band is going for. We used to wear white at one time with blue flash, but now we're in blue kilt hose with a red flash. Like I mentioned, the flash here is red, and that just helps identify, our band. And it is really helpful when we're in a mass band situation, when we're in competition and you see so many pipers all over the place. Our uniform, you can look across the field and go, those are my people, just because of the uniform we're wearing. It's unique to us. So tucked into our kilt hose is called a skein do. It is the translated skein is a dagger, and do means black, so black dagger. It was actually made way back in the day. It used to be made out of bog oak, which was black in color, very hard, suitable for the purpose. So it was customary that when you went to someone's house, you would leave all your weapons at the front door. But you would always have a concealed weapon, which was in courtesy of your host. You would remove that from its concealed place and put it in your right sock if you were right-handed, left sock if you were left-handed. And you always had at least a concealed weapon, not because you feared for your host, but you always feared for some type of intrusion. So you never wanted to be completely unarmed. Moving up from there, we have our kilt, of course. That is, tartan is McDonald of the Isles Modern Hunting. We've been in this kilt since March of 2004. It is pleated in the back. I counted, I've got 32 pleats on mine. I tried to do a little bit of research because I know that when they're dry cleaned, they charge you per pleat, but places I called, nobody knew the answer to how much is it. I think it's like 50 cents a pleat or something like that, so it certainly adds to the cost. You don't get it dry cleaned every week or anything, that's for sure. We have members have a kilt pin. All that is just a decorative pin. It's the piper's choice to wear, and all that does is provide a little bit extra weight for the kilt so it doesn't blow up and give the crowd an extra show that you didn't really intend. Above that is the sporran. The kilt has no pockets, so this provides us just kind of a little bit of a purse where you can keep, nowadays, you can keep your cell phone and your car keys in. In old times, who knows what they could have kept about anything in there. Secured with a belt. The shirt is pretty nondescript, whatever, this is our summer uniform. Up at the top we have our cap that we're wearing. Tonight we're in Glengarry's. Glen, translated in Scotland, means valley, and you can see here that there is a valley in our caps. It also has these swan tails in the back. And I heard once, and I was not able to verify it, that the swan tails are there to help funnel the rainwater down so it doesn't go right down your neck. It'll soak in and get past your neck and kind of dribble off through the ribbons anyway. We have a custom cap badge. I'm not sure how long we've had these for, quite a while, but they're unique to each band. Would have their either own cap badge or a generic one where all members are alike. So hopefully, and I was forwarded one question, and that was, of course, what's worn under the kilt? So there's a couple answers. One is, nothing's worn, everything is in perfect working order. And the second, as we already learned, what's worn below the kilt is ghillie brogues.
The tune we're going to play is a somber tune. It's a beautiful Irish air called Dawning of the Day. And this tune was written some 300 years ago by a blind harpist in Ireland. Later there was some words put down and they used the melody, and it's called Raglan Road. And a lot of people have heard of that. And now it's been co-opted into a very, very sad tune about a young man leading his even younger soldiers into a no-win war situation. And the last three lines of the tune are, "For when the shadows end, we shall meet again on the dawning of the day." Since he was a very young man, he has been playing drums, and he's become quite an accomplished musician in more than just drums. But for us, he teaches and composes and leads our drum section. So it's my pleasure to introduce you to Josh.
Thanks, Mike. So, as Mike said, my name is Joshua Poinsett. I've been playing drums for about 23 years in this style, the Highland Celtic style. And you may notice that there are 3 different types of drums with the pipe band. And you may be asking yourself, why drums? As Ewan was talking earlier, the pipes are tuned a little bit differently, so drums are kind of the only thing that really match with that. So we have 3 different styles of drums to match each part of the bagpipes as well. So the snare, which is what I'm playing, this is a little bit different than a typical marching snare. So if I lift this up here, I don't know if you guys can get a look at that. There's two snares in there. There's a bottom one and a top one. And around the top of our drums, we have 22 lugs. So that lets us really tighten these things up and crisp them up quite a bit. So when our snare drums are tuned without the snares on them, they're tuned to the high A of the chanter of the pipes. And then we add the snare, and that's what gives them that extra crisp crack to it. So what we try to do on the snare is kind of mimic what the pipes are doing when they're on their chanter. So all the tunes that they're playing, the notes, we're trying to emphasize those more and more. And then we have our midsection, which are tenor drums. And I'm going to have one of our tenor drummers, Gracie, come over and just kind of give you a little demonstration of a flourish. Thanks. So, flourishing is basically the tenor drums version of doing what the snare drums do on the drum. They do that in the air, and that gives it extra emphasis, but it also is kind of a flash, a show for it, and to show the skill of those drummers as they're doing their rudiments in the air and not just on the drum. So they're hitting the drum and doing the rudiments in the air, and so they're counting at a completely different rate than the rest of us. And their drums are tuned to the tenor drones of the bagpipes. And then we have our bass drum, which is the conductor of the band. And we've got our bass drummer up here. Awesome, thank you. Tonight it's Ted. He's filling in for our normal bass drummer. Usually Ted plays snare with us, but our bass drum is tuned to the low drone of the pipes as well. So everything is in sync with the pipes so that we can match them completely because of the different frequency that it's played in. And you may notice there's a lot of repetition in what we do. That's so we can all kind of watch each other and make sure that we're in sync with that. And then you may notice if you're looking at the video, my head is always tilted kind of off to the side this way. That's because I'm watching the pipe major's foot to make sure that I'm on beat with that constantly. And then the rest of the drummers are watching me in that. And that's kind of how we all stay in tune together. And that's why the drums are with the pipes. So
the next two tunes are two of my favorites. There's not a lot to say about them, just that they're great tunes. Gardens of Skye is the first one, and Skye is the large island just off the west coast of Scotland, spelled S-K-Y-E. So this is Gardens of Skye. And the second tune is Leaving Liverpool, which is just another great Irish tune.
Man, ready? By the center. Quick, time.
Well, we go from two of my favorite to the saddest song that we play. I think it's the saddest. It's called Bells of Dunblane. In 1996, a former shopkeeper and scout leader walked into the Dunblane Primary School in Dunblane, Scotland, and opened fire and killed 15 children and one teacher. After the massacre, the bells of the churches of Dunblane were ringing for days for all the funerals. Pipe Major Robert Matheson was affected by those bells, and he wrote a song, and it's this one called Bells of Dunblane. The next set of tunes are what we call our Irish 4/4s. That means they're in the 4/4 time signature. And we always play them on a very fun day of St. Paddy's Day. But there's actually kind of a dark side to all three of these tunes. The first one is Minstrel Boy, and that was written in honor of the guy's friends who died in the Irish Rebellion of 1798. The second tune is Kelly the Boy from Killane. Well, Kelly was a leader in the Irish Rebellion, and the English caught him and hanged him. And finally, the Wearing of the Green refers to putting a shamrock in your hat and almost essentially committing suicide, because that was a penalty by death if you were caught. Green was the color of the rebellion. So we have Minstrel Boy, Kelly the Boy from Killane, and Wearing of the Green. All fun tunes with a sad background.
Ready. Fire center. Quick. Fire.
No worries, folks, we're getting close to the end. It's not going to go on much longer. The next tune we're going to play is an iconic bagpipe tune. It's going to be forever linked to the bagpipes, I think. And it's a wonderful tune. It's Amazing Grace. The last two tunes are our farewell. The first one is Scotland the Brave, and that is one of two or three unofficial national anthems of Scotland. Everybody seems to know that tune. The second one that we're going to play is what we call Johnny Scobie. The real title is No Wada Beat Away. And what that means is we're not away to stay away. This is a farewell song, but we're not going to be gone forever. Often played at dockside when ships were departing. So this is our farewell to Shorewood. We thank you very much for the opportunity to play for you, and we hope you enjoyed it. We are the Rochester Caledonian Pipe Band. You can follow us on Facebook or on our website. Thanks again.
Right, ready. High center. Quick, fire. pipe staff. Dismiss.